Okay, here we are. Welcome back. This is Ryan White here and David McKelvin, ESPN Radio, 1700 AM, Real Estate Radio, every Thursday from 1 to 2. Just a brief background about myself. Again, Ryan White here. I'm a real estate agent with the Giltonen Group here in Carmel Valley. Got experience in short sales, flipping of homes, long-term rentals, vacation rentals, and home sales in general. Really enjoy the business, and I'd also like to introduce, well, my friend, my business partner, my co-host, and sometimes my arch nemesis, David McKelvin. He'll tell you a little about himself.
Always the arch nemesis. Yes, hello, David McKelvin here. Just about 15 years ago, I walked off the quarterdeck of for the United States Navy. I got out with an honorable discharge, and in one hand I had my sea bag, and the other hand I had my real estate license, and here we are 15 years later and 600 closed transactions, and we're selling homes every day as often as we can. And we've got a strong lineup for you today, Ryan.
Well, we only have 4 mics in the show and 5 people. So Sharesi's here. Everybody's going to get cozy. We do have 3 guests, Robert Dillon and his business partner, Kate Sale. They work with aid and attendance. There is $24,000 out there that the federal government is just waiting to give out to qualified parties. So we will get into exactly how that works. In addition to that, estate sales. Now, who out there is interested in estate sales? Well, that is where they go out and they go through and dispose of the assets of the personal property, sometimes before a sale of a home, sometimes after. We have Kathy Holly with Estate Liquidation Service also with us. Guys, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Pleasure to be here.
So before we jump into that, I have a topic here that was in the UT. I think it was something that's really on people's mind nowadays. We are seeing a transition, or at least the UT would like to think that there's a transition, from this real estate market being a buyer's market to maybe a seller's market. They want us to believe, and we're out there studying homes and prices, we feel it too, that there's a 50% drop in the amount of inventory that is on the market right now as compared to just 1 year ago. And when you combine that with interest rates, that really is creating a diminished supply. David, just recently, the last week, had a property on the market here in Oceanside that we received, I think it was 4 offers on, almost the first day. I'm going to swing it over to him so he can tell you about it.
Yeah, it was an expired listing, and we actually held an open house before we put it on the market because we didn't have pictures yet, and 3 people walked in. All 3 of them wanted to buy the property. All 3 of them were very excited. We couldn't get any of them qualified. As you know, it's difficult out there right now to get loans. And one of them in particular was a active military person, and they were getting out in 3 months. They wanted to do a VA loan, and they couldn't get the VA loan because, frankly, they weren't going to re-enlist. In 3 months, they were going to be out of a job. And quite frankly, I don't blame the VA for not extending that kind of loan program out to them because it seems like there's enough people out there that had problems making their mortgage payment. So, we put it on the market. We had 2 full-price offers, a couple other offers that came in, and upset a few agents out there because they weren't the ones that the seller picked.
Yeah, that aspect of the market is really hot, and I think this is price point specific. When you start talking about the ability to get a VA or FHA loan, which is generally looked upon as being conventional loan limits of 417, that is where it commonly makes sense that it is actually cheaper to own than it is to rent nowadays, especially when you consider the tax implications and the tax benefits you get. We really are seeing that part of the market on fire. I'm working with a couple buyers now, and we're having to make multiple offers. We're seeing multiple offer scenarios out there, and we're having to make offers at over asking price, which is really a change than in the mindset that the buyers have experienced in the last few years while they felt they were in the pole position, and that may no longer be the case. What about the higher end, David?
Well, the high-end market seems to be picking up quite a bit because we've gotten a number of showings on houses we've had for sale for a long time. In fact, we've got an offer on one right now for over $2 million. It's been on the market about 4 months, and we're just getting a lot of showings. We had a buyer walk in the other day that wanted to buy a house up to $1,350,000. We were able to sell him a property that never actually went on the market. But, I think there's something else I wanted to talk about, and that is that, I don't know if you guys saw it or not, but the Union Tribune came out with the Iraq War veteran gets a free house from Bank of America after a nonprofit partnership gave the foreclosed homes to wounded vets. I don't know, how do you feel about that, Ryan? I mean, here the bank foreclosed on somebody, and they turned around and gave it away to somebody else. What do you think about that?
Well, assuming this previous owner wasn't robo-signed into foreclosure, hey, if you loaned me if I loaned you $300,000 or $400,000 and you didn't pay me, I'd foreclose on you. I have a mortgage payment myself. I have a family. We got to eat. If I loaned you money you didn't pay, I'd foreclose on you. And I like the fact they gave it back to a vet afterwards.
Well, that's quite nice. I mean, obviously I don't work for the political department with Bank of America, although I see that getting PR for foreclosing on somebody and turning around and giving the property away to another just, kind of seems like sending someone to death row and then turning around and parting another, Although my hat's off to them for making an attempt at all. I mean, they certainly didn't have to do that. Just so you guys know, they're also working with different groups that they are considering to give away homes to police officers, other emergency responders, and victims of natural disasters. So speaking of veterans, we have Robert Dillon and Katie Seeley here in the studio with us to talk a little bit about the veterans benefits of Veterans Friend. And there's $24,000 out there that may be available to you. In fact, this is something I'm very passionate about. Every month we run across a homeowner that is selling a property to move into a assisted care community, or they're simply in a situation where they don't know where money's going to come from to help them in the next stage of their lives. And it shocks me that there are a number of people out there that are unaware of the money that the government has set aside. Was it $22 billion, Robert?
David, there's actually $22 billion set aside every single year for veterans' health care.
That's fantastic. And quite frankly, almost every veteran that I run across is not aware of this program. And there's literally $24,000 of income that's out there available to them. So, Robert, why don't you just tell us a little bit about the Veterans Program and how that works?
Absolutely, David. Well, first of all, the name of the program is the Non-Service Connected Disability Pension Benefit. And most of you didn't write that down, so I'll give you a shortened name for that. The VA went ahead and ran with that name for some 20 years, changed it to something called the Improved Pension, and today it's affectionately known as Aid and Attendance. And it's really to help with health care when we get into our senior years. And we're all hopefully going to get into our senior years. So it's actually available for every single veteran and their surviving spouses.
Well, that sounds wonderful. I'm sure you can walk us through the process and, actually get us set up with that. And we're going to hear more about that when we come back. Should you have any questions for us or any of our guests, you can contact us directly at 888-551-2593. Again, 888-551-2593. Or go to our website, pricelesshome.com, click on the radio link, and send us an inquiry.
The best part about being smarter than everyone else is that we don't have to listen to all the talking heads. We don't have to listen to all the rumors and all the graybeards who think they know how this stuff really works. The law is on your side. That's right. The laws are designed to protect consumers from being riddled with debt. They're designed that way so that you can become debt-free and get a fresh start. You should do what I did. When I had financial stress, I called William McDonald with the McDonald Legal Group. Find out how you can use the law to your advantage. Delete your debt and keep your stuff. You got credit card debt, timeshares, old IRS debt, collections, medical bills. Any of this stuff can be wiped away with the Chapter 7 bankruptcy, and it only takes 100 days. Call William McDonald today. 800-997-1235. 800-997-1235. 1235, or go online, SanDiegoBankruptcy.us.
Hi, Mr. Credit here. Are you looking to buy a new or used car? Would you like to get a special deal just for listening to the show? All you have to do is go to bestcardealsandiego.com and get connected with my friends at Toyota of Escondido. I guarantee you get a great deal and walk away happy. They'll give you the most for your trade and the lowest price for your new or used car purchase. They have a 12.5-acre facility, so finding the perfect car is easy. By the way, they can finance anyone. If you've had a bankruptcy, short sale, foreclosure, even a repossession, everyone walks away happy at Toyota of Escondido. Just go to bestcardealssandiego.com today. That's bestcardealssandiego.com. Toyota of Escondido is a family-owned and operated company, so you can support the local community, get treated the way you deserve, and ultimately get the best car deal in San Diego. Go to bestcardealssandiego.com right now. That's bestcardealssandiego.com and get the best possible deal on a car in San Diego today. bestcardealssandiego.com.
Welcome back to ESPN Real Estate Radio, AM station 1700. Remember, if you have any questions for Robert Dillon, call 888-551-2593 or visit our website at pricelesshome.com to submit your questions, and we will answer them within the hour. Now, how is it that someone you may know is missing out on about $24,000 in tax-free benefits? Robert Dillon is here to answer some of your questions because every single month, and this is something I'm very passionate about, we run into homeowners that are selling their property and they're going to move into assisted care communities, or they're in need of financial assistance. And Robert Dillon's really stepped in for a lot of times and helped these people out. And Robert, why don't you tell us a little bit about the veterans benefit and how that's working?
Okay, David. Well, I think one reason why most seniors are not aware about this program, which incidentally has been around since 1951, and when veterans leave the service, they become veterans and they are told about this program. But the program really only comes into effect when they reach age 65. And who remembers what you were told 40 years ago? So
yeah, right.
One of the issues is it just gets forgotten in history. And as it's available for the surviving spouse as well, should the veteran pass, the widow or the surviving spouse just doesn't know anything about it. So that's definitely the main reason. And perhaps another one is a gentleman from the American Legion once told me, he says, the VA behaves like the CIA. They just don't do enough to get word out about this benefit.
Yeah, well, the military is all about hurry up and wait. So I tell you what, here's what we find is that you may not think you qualify for this, but believe it or not, a lot of people out there qualify for it. In fact, I qualify for it. My grandfather qualifies for it. Here are the qualifications to qualify. 90 days active duty in the military, 1 day during a period of war. And we all know this country's been at war a lot lately. An honorable discharge and a need for the aid and attendance. So people that we run into out there, in fact, a lot of times I'll run into a surviving spouse, and she doesn't have very much money. She doesn't know what to do. She wants to sell her house because she thinks she needs to take the equity out of the property to, take care of herself for the rest of her life. And, quite often, I think every single agent that's out there should know about this tax benefit because there's a lot of veterans out there. A single veteran would receive $19,736 a year. A married veteran would receive $23,369 per year, and a surviving spouse will receive $12,681 a year. And a lot of people go without actually taking advantage of this benefit. Robert, can you tell us a story about something that's happened?
I certainly can, David, but let me just clarify the amounts you mentioned. Recently went up. We had a COLA increase after about 4 years. So they went up, I believe it was 3.6%.
COLA increase, that's a term I haven't heard in a while. Cost of living, right?
That's right. Well, the VA actually put that into practice about 6 months ago.
Okay, great, even better.
Yeah. So how does one go about obtaining the pension? Well, even though the VA doesn't put this information out and make it readily available, there is a lot of misinformation out there about it. So a couple of things I wanted to point out. First of all, seek out an accredited representative. Believe it or not, it is a felony for somebody to help a veteran with this pension unless they are accredited. So accreditation is very, very important. And in fact, I believe as of a couple of days ago, there were only 13 accredited representatives in the state of California.
Wow, only 13.
Not many.
Not many. And
wow.
And I think in San Diego, there's only 2. So
and they're probably the only ones that are letting everybody know about this.
We are. We're doing everything we can. And accreditation is the only way that an individual knows that he's in good hands, he's going to get the right information, because to retain accreditation and to get it, we have to go through consistent training. It's an ongoing, continuing education process.
Okay, well, in a lot of cases, I run into homeowners that are out there that say, you know what, this is too good to be true. Is this, is this a for real program, or is this something that's just pie in the sky for a lot of people?
Well, it's certainly not pie in the sky, but I understand what you're saying. We do have people calling us and saying, I called the VA, and they said this program, the non-service connected disability pension benefit, doesn't exist. And I tell them to call back and ask for aid and attendance. Because you have to understand, there are 23 million veterans, David, going through this system right now. And like you said, the VA's job is to say, hurry up and wait and get to the next guy. Mm-hmm. So they have limited information that they can actually decimate in a short period of time. Mm-hmm. But you mentioned about how we recently helped somebody. Mm-hmm. Kate, do you want to address that about a veteran, or shall I?
Veteran Dan?
Yeah.
No, go on. You're doing fine.
Okay. I'm going to change the name of the gentleman we just recently helped, and it kind of puts this into perspective. I'll use his first name, and we'll just call him Veteran Dan. He was an 87-year-old World War II veteran that was definitely in need of this benefit, but he's 87, and he just didn't, take the time or trouble or know about it. So luckily, even though he didn't have any children, he had 2 adult nieces, and the nieces approached us, and we helped them get established. He had a question about what to do with his house. Well, in his situation, it was appropriate to go ahead and sell the house first. But because of the planning we do, sometimes it's not appropriate to sell it first and can hurt your claim. So with Veteran Dan, we helped him apply, and I think Kate had the 2 nieces out the door within about 3 hours with a full claim, what's known as a substantial claim. Well, what often happens is the VA will question the claim, and then we get into this tennis match where the VA sends you some question, and they give you 30 days to respond or another period of time. Even if you respond the next day, they're still going to wait 30 days before they get back to you. Mm. And so we get into a 2-year process, because sometimes these applications can take 2 years.
Wow.
Well, I stepped in with what's called a speedy appeal, and we got the veteran in the assisted community. We had the household, and all in 90 days.
Wow. Okay. Well,
and may I just add, I think the real hero to this story was obviously the Veteran Dan, but the 2 nieces who stepped up for their uncle.
Really, right. People, they haven't had so many things happen to where they're not that wary about opportunities that show up, so much so that they can investigate them to find out whether or not there's really anything going on here. Mm-hmm. And I tell you what, I personally have looked into this, and it's something that I'm passionate about, and I see that a lot of veterans out there do not know that this is available to them, and this is really just free money, tax-free money, up to about $24,000 right now, based on the new increased cost of living implication. Ryan, you have something?
So, this aid and attendance you provide, I mean, you're providing a free service. There's no charge for the vet, no charge for anybody. This is a free service you provide, completely free, but really you're a financial consultant. And so you can really evaluate their financial plan in addition to this to lay out a process that makes sense for them, right?
Absolutely right, Ryan. There are several laws that come into consideration. There is the VA code, there is IRS, there is the Medicaid rules, and all of these kind of intertwine, and some actually contradict each other. So it really does need somebody that's licensed in the financial area to be able to separate the wood from the trees and just get to the bottom line to ensure a successful claim.
Well, obviously there are certain criteria that you have to qualify to get this program. 90 days active duty, 1 day during a period of war, just 1 day, honorable discharge, and you need a need for the aid and attendance. So what are some of the criteria that would cause a veteran not to qualify?
Well, one is that there may not be a medical need, because as the longer name and even the shorter one implies, it is a medical needs-based program. So that's what we call the ticket to start off, initially establishing that medical need. Secondly, it can be to do with your income versus your expenses, an income-expense ratio. The VA is not so concerned what your income is. For example, your income can be $10,000, $15,000 a year. But if your expenses are high, you could still qualify for this benefit amount. Mm-hmm. Then there is your assets. Most veterans do have some sort of asset, whether it's their home or some savings or so forth. So we have to make sure that those are categorized correctly so that they don't work against you, but in fact work for you.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Well, you said there's $22 million out there.
22 billion,
Thank
Ryan.
you, billion. Thank you, $1 billion out for this. What does that equate to, and how many vets are in this program?
Currently, as of about 3 months ago, there were 583,000 veterans and surviving spouses taking advantage of this program.
Wow.
We believe that there is still about 3 million World War II veterans still living and a few more surviving spouses. But Kate and I, our mission is to make sure we touch every single one of them. And, opportunities like this, I hope, will get to spread that word.
So would you say that every year that federal money is used up, or is there a surplus?
No, I'll tell you exactly. About $4 billion gets paid out in these pension claims. So that tells me that $18 billion, and I'm saying this on the air, disappears in government coffers. We don't know where it goes.
Wow.
It's just reallocated by Congress every year, though.
So it sounds like there's plenty of room for other vets to jump on board.
Absolutely.
Not running out of money anytime soon.
No. Mm-hmm. This is one of the programs that has not been earmarked for cutting back.
Yeah. Well, listen, if you are a veteran, spouse of a veteran, widow of a veteran, or a merchant marine, you may qualify for this program. Believe me, when I sit down with homeowners a lot of times, they won't even think they qualify. But one of the first things that I ask them is certain criteria, because there are programs out there that people qualify for. They're all alternatives to selling the house. You may want to sell the house and get this benefit. We don't know. But I tell you what, you should, if you even think that you might need to, or qualify for this, call us at 888-551-2593 or visit our website at pricelesshome.com to submit your questions, and we will answer them within the hour.
When we come back, we're going to have Kathy Hawley, our estate liquidation service consultant, to talk to us about estate liquidation. Talk when we come back.
You know that it would be untrue. You know that I would be a liar if I was to say to you.
According to the U.S. Census Bureau, over 90 million people in the United States own mutual funds. It makes me wonder how many of these people have read all the fine print associated with those investments. The good news is you don't have to try and figure it out on your own. Let me introduce you to Dan Osgood. Dan is willing to do a free risk-cost analysis for any investment portfolio you have. This free analysis will find all the hidden fees and uncover the missing money from your investments. If you have a retirement account or a bond portfolio of any kind, call the helpline today and get a free analysis so you can find out how much these investments are really costing you. 888-888-0154. That's 888-888-0154. Most people don't think they're paying any fees at all, but trust me, you definitely are. The question is, how much? Dan will tell you this for free, and he'll also give you a risk analysis snapshot so you can find out if you're taking on more risk than you should be. Just call the helpline today at 888-888-0154. That's 888-888-0154. If you're an honest person with an impeccable track record of exceptional customer service and the highest levels of integrity, then I want you to contact me today. I consider it my job to help the people of San Diego find the best service providers in town. And if you're one of them, I'd like to know about it. But let me be clear. I'm only looking for companies that have incredible records of execution and customer service. Email me directly, Mr. Credit at mrcredit.us. That's Mr. Credit at mrcredit.us, or call 888-888-0154.
Welcome back to ESPN Radio Real Estate, AM Station 1700. Remember, if you have any questions for Robert Dillon, call us at 888-551-2593. We are here with Kathy Hawley with Estate Liquidation Services. At some point in everybody's life, they're going to need to get rid of their estate property. And Kathy's here. I've worked with Kathy many times, and I tell you what, that before you get rid of your stuff, You got to talk to Kathy because you would be surprised at actually how much some of those assets are worth. And Kathy, can you tell us a little bit about your services?
My service begins when I get a telephone call, usually from a trustee or from a homeowner, and there's a change in their situation. They need to sell the house. And as a result of that, they're going to be taking some things out of the house and keeping them. In the case of a death, there could be memory items that the family and friends want to keep. Or if a senior is simply moving, they're going to take what they want to their new location in assisted living and set up housekeeping there. And then they have the collection of everything in their life that they have purchased over time, things that they have saved throughout their lifetime from places that they've been, things that they have been given, and also things that they have fallen heir to. And those, it's way too much for them to take. And so they call me, and I meet with them and take a contract. And then over a period of 3 days on a weekend, I conduct a public estate sale. And people come to the home, and everything is priced. And then they purchase the items, the public shoppers purchase those items and take them home.
So I have a question. My mother-in-law, I think, goes to these things with a friend of hers who drives down from, I think, L.A. to go to these as well. And I hear stories about she takes the train down here and she spends the night here, and then they get up at 4 o'clock in the morning and they go to the house and they take a number, and it's dark out and perhaps there's security guards there, and then they go to breakfast and then they come back and there's a long line. Is this really what we're talking about?
It's a sickness.
There? What are we doing?
It's a sickness.
What's being sold that's so important?
I would go to Craigslist. I mean, why
why not Craigslist?
Yeah.
There's a charm about opening the front door and allowing people to actually come into a person's home and see everything that they had in their life displayed and priced. And there's a mystery and a charm to it that Craigslist just doesn't have, because I sell everything. I sell everything that's in the garage, everything that's in the kitchen. All the cupboards are emptied. Everything comes out and gets displayed. The only thing that I don't sell are items that might bring a liability to the process. For instance, food, we just simply give it away. And liquor, we just give it away. And there's certain firearms that I don't sell because it's not legal to sell them.
Makes sense.
But there's
all the good stuff.
Well, we give away the cosmetics because there's liability attached to that. Or if it would make shoppers feel uncomfortable if the items are too personal, then I simply donate those items. But everything else is for sale, and I think that's why people go to the extremes. What I do with my shoppers to make life easy on them, because you can open that door sometimes and it looks like the night of the living dead out there. You know, everybody's just kind of swaying from side to side, waiting for the doors to open. So what I do is to alleviate that is just put when my ads come out in the paper or they come out, my email blast of 1,600. Those shoppers who have left me their emails will get.
I've actually gotten your emails before. They're great because you can look on your website and see different products that are being sold, and
you can see what's at the sale. Sure. So if you need a refrigerator or a vehicle or a motorhome and we have it, you can come and see it, or you know someone who needs something. So once they see that notice come through, they know that out in front of the location, on the notice, out in front of the location is a stand, and there are tickets out there, numbers. So they take a number and go away, and then come back at noon on the day that we open, and then they can line up. So instead of waiting out there all morning for the doors to open,
I don't have to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning.
You
I can come back leisurely.
You can get up at 4 o'clock to get the number, though, and then come back at noon. So,
and I would expect people are lining up because there's some expectation of a discount being granted on these items. What kind of discount can I have by buying stuff?
Well, what I basically do is price things to fair market value.
Oh.
And that's generally speaking about 30% of the original purchase price, unless the item has gained value. You know, in the case of antiques or collectibles, sometimes they were throwaway. On collectibles, they were just throwaway items, and now they're fabulously valuable. So antiques and collectibles have enduring value, and those have appreciated, and so those items are priced at the current antique or collectible value. So if you're a collector, though, and you're looking for something in particular, Fenton glass or a Walt Disney autograph or something very particular, the estate sale is where it may show up. That's a really interesting place to come to look. And if you're looking for good quality household goods, you have a grandson or daughter who's setting up housekeeping for the first time. They don't necessarily need everything brand new. You can get beautiful furniture and beautiful dressings for beds and things like that at just a fraction of the cost, because people generally take pretty good care of the things that they purchase. So over time, they're still in good, usable condition. And actually, the whole thing, I see, the whole event is actually from beginning to end just simply recycling. And I mean, that's the direction we're going to as people. We know the landfills are too full. We know we need to recycle. We know we need to get down to zero waste. And the way I look at it is the half cans of paint and everything else, they can go from our garage to your garage just as well. And there's uses for things in the home. So I try very hard not to throw things away, to go ahead and get them recycled over to the next home. Even if we sometimes give things away, it's better that they don't go into the landfill.
Makes sense.
And then at the end of the sale, after it's over and all the selling is done, we usually have calls one more day. We do a Friday, Saturday, Sunday sale, and then at the end of the sale, Monday, sometimes even Tuesday, I'll still be getting calls. Are the bookcases still there, or is the china set still there? And I'm still selling a little bit longer out of the house. Then we go to a system of either culling what has gone unsold, culling that and actually getting additional dollars out of it by perhaps offering it. I have a vendor who will sell for the estate on Craigslist, the bigger, chunkier items, furniture. I have a vendor, a trusted vendor, who will sell on eBay for the estate. They'll sell items that have enduring, the collectible items sell really nicely on eBay. And then I donate.
Okay, so it sounds like the goal, when you're done, there's nothing left.
That's what
gone.
We're trying to do.
Nothing left.
Zero waste is the design.
Well, do you have a buyout program? I mean, do you bid on the whole job, and if it doesn't sell?
It's commission.
Okay.
It's done on commission. So we're both working on the same team. We're both I and the estate, both I and the trust. We're on the same page. We're looking for the highest possible proceeds out of each and every item contained in the house, and we both benefit on a commission basis.
So that I can give my mother-in-law a head start on everybody else, where are the best estate sales? I mean, you do them all
They're
over,
everywhere.
but where are the best ones? Let's say I can't drive everywhere.
They're everywhere. They're in your community. If you're going I have traveled and thinking, oh gosh, Denver's got to have the greatest estate sales, or someplace, Tulsa must have the greatest estate sales. They're everywhere.
Well, we're not leaving San Diego. Let's say within San Diego, where have you found to be the best ones?
They're good everywhere. I've had terrific. My best estate sale was in Alpine.
Really? And why is that?
It was an historical estate, and people still talk about that one. It was an historical estate. The family had helped to settle Alpine, and they had also worked in San Diego in the early days. And they were familiar with all of the ranchos. The old ranchos were still in operation, and they had brought things from the ranchos onto that estate. Out in Alpine, all these treasures were in this one little house. It was a wonderful sale.
So what's the most unique or most expensive thing you've ever sold at one of these places?
Oh, one of the most unique and expensive items was at that particular sale, and it was a perfectly restored doctor's buggy. And it was
Perfectly
a
restored
work.
doctor's buggy.
It was a work of art. It was in the barn on the property, and I opened the barn
Like an
doors.
ambulance, maybe?
And here it's a buggy. It was a horse-drawn doctor's buggy, and it was perfectly lovingly restored for this gal. It was a
Wow.
great piece. And the second one was an interesting one. I think was a shrunken head. That was an interesting.
What does a
thing.
shrunken
That
head
was-
sell for?
That was an interesting thing to
How
find.
much can I buy a shrunken
Well,
head for?
fortunately, we could sell it because it was a souvenir.
What did
It
sell
wasn't
for?
actually a human head. It had been
a
fabricated
fake
out of
shrunken skull.
skins and stitched together. But it took a little. That was one of the most interesting things I researched.
Yeah.
Was to find out if this indeed, which really looked like a shrunken head, if it really was a real, no kidding, human head that had been shrunken.
So what makes the perfect estate sale? I mean, what should the client do or not do?
The perfect estate sale occurs when the owner of the property has never really thrown anything away.
Ooh.
But they've really cataloged and kept
Those are all your
things-
listings.
I
right?
think my
things-
wife is planning for a perfect estate sale.
kept things over time. So we've got things from the 30s, the 40s, the 50s, things that their mom gave them. So all of that is in that location. That things they haven't gone in, no family member, no persons have gone in and started throwing things away. That's the caveat on having a really good estate sale. Is don't do anything for me. Don't think, oh, well, I'm going to go in there and clean all those drawers out and clean all those cabinets out. Don't do that. Just take out what you want to keep, leave everything else there, and I'll throw it away. Or I'll donate it prior to the sale. But what generally speaking the homeowner or the trustee does is cleaning up for the estate sale person is they're simply throwing away money.
Right.
Because the thing that's the most often thrown away are the collectible items. They look like nothing special. But those little memory items from the 20s, 30s, and 40s that are kept squirreled away in a drawer or cabinet somewhere sometimes are more valuable than the furniture in the house. So the idea is don't throw anything away for the estate sale person and keep it intact and then call. Take out the documents and, the trust papers and all of that, and then make the call and let that estate sale person go through and just determine what is to be sold or not.
Well, that makes sense. If you'd like to be on Kathy's email list, you can send us an email or go to the website, which is pricelesshome.com. Click on the radio button. Send us your information. We'll make sure you get on our list. If you have questions for any of our panelists, the show's number here is 888-551-2593. Again, 888-551-2593. When we come back, we hope to have, although he hasn't shown up yet, a real live foreclosed upon homeowner in the studio to talk about his process, give you some insight.
Are you trying to decide what to do about your home? Do you feel like you might be upside down on your loan? Hi, Mr. Credit here. I know what might be going through your mind, and the uncertainty alone can be stressful. You know I'm a big fan of the truth, because it helps people make real decisions. Before you start making decisions about your home, you need to find out what it's really worth. Not from one of those online places that are way out of touch with the local market either. All you have to do is call the Mr. Credit Real Estate Helpline to get a free home valuation, a $350 value, absolutely free. 888-951-2929. That's 888-951-2929 to find out the true value of your home today. 100% free. 888-951-2929 or online at MrCreditRadio.com.
Come on, be one step ahead of everybody else. Let Mr. Credit help you. Call 888-951-2929.
It's no secret that interest rates are at all-time lows and real estate prices are lower than they've been in many years. However, is it time to pull the trigger if you're currently paying rent and ready to buy? There's only one way to find out. Call John Gerodes today and get a free rent versus own analysis at 760-522-2298. It only takes a few minutes to get all the numbers put together, so you can determine what's best for you. 760-522-2298. That's 760-522-2298.
Para resultados y más información acerca de este programa, consultar la página espnradio1700.com.
We're back. And he showed up. We have in the studio a real live foreclosed upon, well, previous homeowner, I guess it is, here to talk about his experience. And this guy drove all the way down from L.A. to be on our show. I mean, he's got something to say. He's got an opinion about something. There's something going on out there. Because I wouldn't drive that far unless I had something to say. I can't imagine it being all that good.
No.
Now, just so that nobody out there, I mean, there's a certain amount of discretion we want to take here, of course, and maybe you want to remain a little bit anonymous. So we're going to call you Matrick, so nobody out there knows what's going on.
I like that.
Tell us about the process. How long did it take from, I would guess, when you first missed a payment till the bank actually took the home? What was that process?
The process was quite long, actually, and over a year. Over a year and a half. Before the foreclosure was completed.
Was that because they were doing a loan modification for you, or?
Yes, I went through the process of trying to do a loan modification, but I had gone through a divorce, which was kind of surprising. Lost a little bit of revenue money coming in.
Yeah, I lost half of it, some might say.
Yep, and then went on unemployment. And so the ball just started kind of rolling from there.
You check all the boxes that they tell us for a hardship.
Right,
I mean, everything.
Yeah.
Divorce
will do
lost
it.
a job.
Divorce will do it. Yeah.
Why did they not modify?
Because they, I have to be real honest. I didn't complete all the paperwork correctly. To be honest with you,
but they didn't tell you. They didn't tell you that you didn't complete it.
Yeah, I was working with Chase Bank, and a little bit disappointed at the end. Where we had some bad communication, and I had thought I had the auctions postponed, which you can do, and it didn't happen. I thought I filled out all the paperwork correctly, but I didn't really chase that down. I just kind of let it go.
I see. Mm-hmm. I see. Good enough. So you did attempt a modification, right? And so did they tell you were still in that process when you were foreclosed on? I mean, is that what you thought was happening?
No, I had also been approved for the employee forbearance program that they have.
Okay.
So that's the paperwork that I had sent in. And I know that I got that paperwork complete. The package was 100%, got it in on time, and that's where the confusion came in. I got a letter from Chase saying your loan modification request had been denied. And that's they won't allow you to even submit for a loan modification if you're on unemployment. So I knew that there was a mess up at the
Chase. Yep. I see.
I assumed anyways.
So you were in the modification process, and it sounds like you thought that was working, so that's why no short sale. You didn't try the short sale route, right?
Right.
Because you had hoped, selling the home really wasn't what you wanted to do.
Yep.
You wanted to keep it.
Yep.
And
it was undecided.
Undecided, got it. Okay, okay. You wanted to solve the problem,
Right.
and if that meant having to sell it, fine, but the goal was to keep the home through the modification, and you thought you were in that process. But
it's a great piece of real estate. It's right at Cal State San Marcos, right in that area.
As a matter of fact, this is... Yeah, because especially important to David, it's actually the first home he's ever sold.
Yeah, Matrick and I are longtime friends. I remember making a phone call one time, and I was referred to him as moving down from Lake Tahoe, and I showed his wife some houses, and it ended up being the first house I ever sold. So near and dear to my heart that that this happened, and now we here we are looking at the situation. But you know what? There is nobody out there. I mean, this could be happening to you. This could be happening to somebody that you know. This isn't something that's just like swept under the carpet. This is something that's happening to very real people out there, and it's a serious matter. And in fact, we're finding less and less foreclosures are hitting the market because a lot of them are being picked up at the auction these days. Tell us about what happened with that.
Sure. I had contacted Chase just to confirm that the paperwork was in right and the auction was going to be postponed, and they really couldn't tell me. And I think that there's some communication problems there. But the auction took place, and a third party bought the house.
Do you think they got a good deal?
I don't I don't believe that they did.
Okay,
I don't
people
know
are down
anything
there
about
at
the
the
real estate
auctions,
prices, but I don't think the house was
They're
valued
bidding
at.
on some of these properties, thinking that okay, so it's being foreclosed on. Obviously, it's a great deal, but you
it's
think
not another homeowner that's bidding on it. It's an actual corporation,
Investor.
real estate investment company, and they go in and they flip the house. So they also offered the cash for keys after.
Well, that was nice.
After that,
Okay,
How much did they offer you?
Well, they offered $2,000 in the beginning, and
that's not very much.
No, it's not.
How can you move on $2,000?
Right.
What amount eventually did the trick?
They're really aggressive too. They on as far as the eviction process goes.
Yeah,
really.
The final where we ended up. 4,200.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Well, that'll get you out of the
Yeah.
house. And did they give you a certain amount of time that you had to be out?
Yeah, it was quick.
Week,
it was
something
quick.
like that.
Mm-hmm. And then you have to have the house broom cleaned.
Okay.
Oh, right.
Okay.
Yeah, we are seeing that. We do have a bank relationship with B of A, and in years past, we were looking at 30 to 40 REOs we were given to sell, and that's dwindling. They are, in some fashion, solving that through the short sale, so we've been told. But every
either
now
that
and
or loan modification.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of people talk about this shadow inventory that's out there, and I'm frankly not buying into it, because if the house doesn't get modified, and it doesn't get short sold, and then it doesn't get purchased at auction, then it's going to come up as a foreclosure. So there's a lot of things that have to happen before that property ends up showing up as a foreclosure. So if you're a buyer out there and you think that you're just going to walk out and buy these foreclosures, or you see now, we're seeing on Zillow, we're seeing on Trulia, that they're putting up the properties that are in default, and our buyers are calling us and going, hey, what about this one and what about that one? And honestly, we're cautioning them, because these people are actually getting in the cars and they're driving by properties with people that are in default, that have no intention of actually having it foreclosed on, and they're asking for trouble if they walk up and knock on that door, because those people a lot of times have misdirected aggression. So be careful about what you're doing out there with this information that's showing up on the internet.
Well, one of the questions a lot of people have with the short sale and the foreclosure process is credit score. I mean, what is your credit score looking like these days? Did it take a big hit?
It took a huge hit.
It took a huge hit. What do we? I mean, 820, 830 is kind of like amazing, and you can get anything. You got a credit score like that. I would say 720. You can get anything you want. Well, what are you looking at?
I was I think at 760, something like that.
So that's anything. You can get anything you want.
Let me buy a really nice car that I gave back.
That I gave back. Okay.
Let's see here.
And what do you?
My credit rate, I bet you, is in the fives.
I
got to file bankruptcy for.
And you filed bankruptcy?
No, I need to do that.
Need to?
Yep.
Got it.
Yep.
Okay. Wow, in the fives. Okay. So someone showed up at your house. Did you ask for any proof? Did this person provide any proof that they were the owner?
How
did you know?
Oh, yeah. Okay. So they posted that day of the auction on the proper postings, and then they also then summonsed me later, where they were taking me to court, and it's the I can't recall what the name of what they're suing you for, but basically for right of occupancy. So you get entered into a suit, and you have a tight timeline to respond to that. It gives you 5 days. So I went down to the Vista Courthouse, and they had a seminar that was going on, and they had legal aid there, and they helped me get all the paperwork completed and file for a waiver for the fees. And so that kept me in my position as far as negotiating with them for cash or keys, and that's the purpose that I did it. I knew I was moving out.
Right.
So that was just purely I couldn't lose it, because if I lost it, then that would give them the
possession.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I can see that. Good enough, do you think?
To be honest.
Well, I appreciate it. That's why we're here.
Yep.
I mean, like I said, there's nothing in it for you.
Right.
You're not selling anything. You're just sharing. There's got to be a lot of people out there that are on the fence about this. There's all kinds of upside-down homeowners, and they're saying modification, short sale, or foreclosure. And foreclosure usually is the last resort, right? But a short sale, as the rumors are true, a short sale is anything but short.
No, it takes
it's a lot
6
of work.
months, if that. Matter of fact, we recently had one that we had a buyer on that it took, 4 months to get approval on. By the time we got back with the approval, the buyer was gone.
It's not uncommon for the buyers to change. So it's an arduous process for the homeowner and intrusive. they're asking for tax returns and bank statements and blood types, all kinds of stuff that is not what we would think not all that necessary for them. But so knowing what you know now and understanding, being on the fence about modification, short sale, or actual sale, if you were to go through the process again, do you think you'd ever get a loan with Chase again, or are you completely burned on them?
I wouldn't say I'm completely burned on them.
Oh,
yeah.
I didn't expect you to say that.
Yeah, no, I think that overall it's it was a decent bank for me when I made a lot of money.
Yeah.
But it just didn't work out in the end as far as the loan goes. Also, just going through that process of a short sale, going through a divorce at the same time, that kind of makes things, where you're trying to get
it's like
paperwork
taking two
together and
missiles.
so forth.
It's hard to survive that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And in fact, Ryan and I sit down with homeowners every week, and the financial hardships that are out there are very real, and people are trying to make really, really serious decisions about what to do with their house.
Yep.
Yeah. If you could look back now that you
There's
know
a lot of conflicting information out there too.
Really? Okay.
Yeah,
like
especially
what?
on the eviction.
What did you find that was conflicting?
The eviction process of the foreclosure and some of the foreclosure information on the tenant rights and so forth. There's just a lot of information to try to put it all together, and then you get some misinformation that you find out after going on the internet. Everybody gets on the internet.
Sure.
So I just think it's good to have some guidance. I think I wasted time there.
Do you think were there people out there that were trying to take advantage of the situation, that were saying, look, hire me as an attorney, I'll keep this from happening to you?
Absolutely. And all they were going to get you is what you would get on your own in that regard. But David, you are a big help just going through the process. I know we didn't end up getting it listed, but just having you as a sounding board was really, really good.
Yeah, man, I was there. I
appreciated that.
Yeah. Anything I could do to help, man.
Yep.
So with your experience with Chase, do you necessarily feel that there's a lender out there that's better or worse than any others?
I wouldn't know.
You wouldn't know?
No.
Okay, so
Yeah.
I'm surprised you're not burned on Chase. I expected you to have a very strong stance on that.
Well, going through the process that you went through, obviously there was a lot of information out there that was misleading. Knowing what you know now and seeing what had unfolded, what would you do differently?
That's probably a whole nother discussion.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess I would. I wouldn't have been late.
Well, I know, but I mean,
but that happens.
saying that you were late, it didn't.
Yeah.
You didn't do this on purpose.
Right.
This wasn't a strategic situation. This was a true hardship that you went through. And in fact, you're not alone. I mean, every single day we talk to someone that's in financial hardships, and a lot of times they're in denial about the situation. And a lot of people that are out there won't actually show their cards right now because they're holding them close to their chest because it's a very private thing.
Yeah, I guess what I would do differently is it is a complicated process to get a loan modification done. I think I would have been more diligent in just working through that process to see if I could get the loan modification completed.
Yeah,
I think just the
they are
paperwork.
getting. I am seeing people get loan modifications, so it's not just a bunch of smoke out there. There is some fire. There, people are actually getting loan modifications.
Now, going back to the Union Tribune, there's an article on here about few San Diegans try a foreclosure review. It says here that 4 million people are eligible for a foreclosure review. So far, only 5.3% have submitted for the foreclosure review. And interesting, when you're reading the article, it's been left up to the banks to send a letter out to the homeowner notifying them that they're eligible. Well, I think you're a pretty good example. If you're foreclosed on, you're not there anymore. And did you go to a lot of trouble to make sure Chase had your forwarding address? Probably not.
Nope.
So these letters are going to nobody. Right, and that has a lot to do with it. But is this something you consider? Do you intend to do this? And did you get the letter?
Yeah, I don't recall if I got the letter or not.
Probably not.
Yeah,
I mean, it comes you stack a mail from them, and you just kind of got it.
Right. Yeah.
Well, now you may want to look into it. There is a process you can go through for the review, and they will give you some indication if they followed the rules, whatever those happen to be. And want to spread the word out there. There is a foreclosure review service.
Cool.
There's an 800 number to call. If you're interested in that, you can get a hold of us at the station here, 888-551-2593. Again, 888-551-2593. Or go to our website, pricelesshome.com, click on the radio icon, and submit your inquiry. Well, that's it for us. I want to say thank you to all of our guests. I appreciate you being here, and we hope to have you back sometime soon. I appreciate all the insight. David?
Well, thank you very much, Robert Dillon, for coming out from a veteran's friend and sharing with us some of the veteran benefits that are available for people, and offering your services to go out there and, provide financial consulting with people to make sure that either they qualify or not for this really found money, this tax-free benefit. And Kathy Holly, thank you very much for coming out and sharing with us a little bit about estate sales, because people can get really good bargains out there, and it's nice to know that there are services like that out there that can liquidate the assets that people have accumulated over a lifetime. And Patrick, you know what, man? I mean, we'll be friends forever, and I thank you for coming out and joining us on this and sharing with us.
Yeah, it was great. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you, David. Thank you, Ray.